Maps I find mysterious. Chinese Navy drills around the coast of Australia. This is going to be interesting. On February 11th, they decided to sail here, and they just kept going. Look at that. Conducted live fire drills. Very close to Sydney. Very close. I mean, technically, because it's not really that close, but it kind of is close. Just look. And they kept going. Very close to Tasmania. They literally did a whole circle around Australia. You don't want a random country sailing around your coast like this for no reason. But nearly a month later, they just left. And I am assuming Australia did not say anything. Top countries losing people to immigration. So in Europe, the main countries losing people are Greece and Ukraine for obvious reasons, I am assuming. Greece makes sense. I mean, the economy is doing badly. Let's just put it this way. And I think I put it mildly, actually. And Greeks have an EU passport, so they could just move to Germany tomorrow, basically. Over 300,000 people leave Turkey each year. I'm pretty sure the Turkish economy is even worse than Greek economy. So I don't blame the Turkish people. China is losing 500,000 people a year. But if you think about it, it's not a significant amount because China has 1.4 billion people. So 500,000 is actually nothing. Same with India. 1 million people leaving each year is not actually a significant number. It gets significant in Pakistan though. 1.6 million people leaving each year is quite a lot because they have significantly less people than China or India. Not that many people leave the South American countries. I was expecting the numbers to be much higher, to be honest with you. But then the question is, do they not leave because they don't want to or because they can't? And I'm guessing the answer is different for everyone. A lot of people leave Sudan. This is a crazy number because they've got only 50 million people. So they lose well over 2% of their population each year. How is the country going to function in like 10 years? The population of beavers in Europe. So in 1900, barely any beavers lived in Europe, not even in Poland. If you know which meme I am referring to, then good for you. But fast forward to 2021, beavers are everywhere in Europe, literally everywhere. They said no to living in England though, and Ireland, and Italy. Why would you not want to live in Italy though? They don't need to worry about making money. That's some bad taste from the beavers. If money didn't matter, I would move to Italy tomorrow. Same with Spain. Why did they choose the rainy part of Spain? And they live everywhere in Poland. Wow. Now I know where the memes come from. The nearest country to everywhere in the USA. So unsurprisingly, the nearest country to most US states in the north is Canada, and in the south, the nearest country is Mexico. But it gets more tricky in the south and Florida here, because I always assume that for Florida it is just Cuba. No one really thinks about the Bahamas, I believe. I nearly forgot the country was there, and you always hear about Cubans sailing to Florida from Havana or something, but it is actually Bahamas for most of Florida. In western Alaska, it's Russia. Wow. The nearest country to Hawaii is Kiribati. Really shows you how far Hawaii actually is. Map of the Gambia. I believe Gambia must have the weirdest shape in the world as a country. I mean, what is this? In the middle of Senegal, it would have made more sense if it was like a buffer zone between two different countries. But they just took the middle of Senegal and said this is the Gambia. Fair enough, I guess. But to be honest, this is a really interesting and kind of cool shape, I think. Population change in Europe. From 1990 to 2020, green means growth, pink means decline, and grey means no change. We can see a decline everywhere in Eastern Europe, and I mean literally everywhere. In Latvia, there's no growth even in the cities. In Lithuania, only the capital has seen a population growth. It's Vilnius here, I believe. In Poland, only the big cities have seen a population growth too. The Balkans have seen a population decline literally everywhere. Everyone just moved to Germany. Western Europe actually looks much better. Ireland has seen a population growth everywhere in every single centimeter of the country. Same with England. The Netherlands and Belgium have seen massive increases in the populations too. Spain only grew on the coast. And in Madrid, obviously, it's the capital. In Italy, you can see the north-south divide. The south has seen a decline basically everywhere. But the north gained a significant amount of people. And in Russia, Moscow grew massively. And I think it's grey here because no one lives here. So there's no change if no one lives there anyway. All there's still functioning universities in Europe. Bologna is the oldest university in Europe. And in the world for that matter, I believe. It was then followed by Salamanca in Spain. And Oxford in the UK. And then after Oxford, we have quite a long break. I think France was next. Sorbonne. Sorbonne. I do not speak French, unfortunately. Austria, Czechia, and Poland opened their first universities around the same time. I was expecting Greece to have a university much earlier, actually. States with no Apple stores. We could rename them up to states with no big cities. And it's pretty accurate, I think. I cannot think of a single big city in Vermont. In fact, I couldn't name any city in Vermont. Same with West Virginia. And same with the states here. I'm not going to blame Apple here, and I would say it actually makes sense. Is your country more or less happy than the United States? States. Yellow means more, and blue means less. So the Nordic countries are happier than the USA, but these are the happiest countries in the world, so it's hard to compete. The UK and Ireland are happier than the US too, which is quite surprising if you ask me. Netherlands makes sense, I believe, but Belgium is quite surprising. I mean, they're not known for being a very happy country, and then most countries are actually less happy than the US. All of Eastern Europe is less happy. Lithuania is the exception. Good for you, Lithuania. Do you know what? I was expecting Germany to be happier than the US. Maybe even France too. Southern Europe kind of makes sense. They're less happy. The salaries are not the best there. Same with the Balkans. Official status of the Italian language in the world. Italian is an official language in Italy. And only in Italy. But it has official minority status in Romania, Bosnia, Croatia, and Slovenia. And surprisingly, wait for it, surprisingly, Eritrea. And some small parts of Brazil. A lot of Italians immigrated to South America, mainly to Argentina, I believe, but also to Brazil, apparently. And Eritrea was an Italian colony for quite a long time. I'm not sure what it's a minority status in these countries here. I guess they've got quite a lot of Italian people living there. South American population density. So people live on the coast. I mean, it's not really surprising, is it? Argentina is really empty, but it's a massive country, and most people live in Buenos Aires here. Uruguay is quite empty for being such a small place anyway. In Chile, most people live in the middle of the country. No one lives in the north. It might be too warm, and no one lives in the south. It might be too cold. And the middle of the country is perfect, apparently. Venezuela is absolutely empty. I had no idea, actually. Colombia is really empty here too, and that's the Amazon forest, I think. I hope it is. I don't want to embarrass myself. Ethnicity in central Houston. So red means white, blue means black, yellow means Hispanic, and green means Asian. This is a really segregated city, if you ask me. I had no idea. White people live in the west of the city, black people live in the north and in the south, and Hispanic people live in the east. Is it like this in every US city? That's actually quite surprising to me. I know there's usually some kind of divide, but I thought it was more mixed. And Houston's a really big place too. The Nile River compared to Vietnam. So this is the Nile River. I think most of us know the shape of it. And Vietnam is surprisingly similar to it. I never actually thought about it, but it actually is. They literally just stole the shape of the Nile River. I'm assuming it wasn't planned, but it actually looks really cool. I really like the shape of Vietnam. Gets really narrow here though. Countries whose highest point is over 5,000 meters in elevation. The map should be titled, does your country have really high mountains instead? In Europe, the answer is just no. Just Russia has really high mountains in Europe. That's it. Really, that's it. It's 3 countries in North America. All of these 3 countries are massive though, so I guess it makes sense. In South America, it's only the countries in the western part of the continent. Central African countries here. I genuinely had no idea they had mountains here. No surprises in Asia, I believe. The map forgot about New Zealand. But I think the answer is no for New Zealand anyway.